So the Greens have finally pulled the pin on what has always been a pretty loveless marriage. Actually, the rocks in the bed became clear about the middle of last year when the ALP right, sick of blaming Kevin Rudd for everything, decided that they'd switch the blame to the Greens instead. The Greens, they said, were loopy extremists. They were dragging the Labor Party vote down. It was time to get rid of them, to preference them below one nation if necessary. To which the Greens, unsurprisingly, replied that the Labor Party was a party that had abandoned all principle and ethics and everything else in the world. So this dragged on for another 6 months or so, 9 months, but it was obvious that it couldn't last forever. And it came to an end eventually over the Greens' own shibboleths, the environment. They'd been pretty unhappy about Environment Minister Tony Burke for some time. He'd approved mines in New South Wales, in the Gloucester area in particular, and seemed to be working further and further away from key environment issues and towards things that, quote, created jobs, which really meant creating profits for the miners. And it came to an end when Tony Burke moved into sacred territory. He refused to list the Tarkine forest as a whole for the heritage and instead just kept the coastal fringe while abandoning the vast majority of the area to the miners. Now, this was blasphemy. The Tarkine is Greens' heartland, their birthplace, their holy land. It could not be given away to barbarians without a protest. And so Christine rang Julia Gillard and said, "Sorry mate, it's all off." And Julia, not all that surprised, said righto and got on with the work. And in practice, of course, although Milne has abandoned the marriage, she hasn't sent the ring back and she's really hardly got up from the connubial couch. The Greens are still guaranteeing supply and confidence in the Labor government, which is all they ever really guaranteed. They always kept their own independence outside that. Labor, of course, is screaming that the Greens are rats abandoning a sinking ship. But that's fair enough. I mean, I've always thought rats got a pretty bad press. I mean, if the ship's sinking, what would any sensible animal, human, rat or any other kind, do but abandon it? Get off before the bloody thing goes under. So if they're rats, at least they're rational rats, which is more than can be said of some of the people in the Labor Party these days. I'm Mungo McCallum.